I've got to say I'm angry. Very, very fucking angry. I mean, I've tried to, in the past, pass off Trump's approach to this virus as ignorance. But with the knowledge from Bob Woodward's recordings that he understood back in February and March, the seriousness of the virus and how deadly it was and how contagious it was, he actually understood that. And yet he pushed this agenda of trying to open the country when clearly he saw the predictions that hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people could die. They will die in the hundreds of thousands now. More and more hundreds of thousands. Because of what's happening right now, 40,000 people infected a day. They're the ones that are testing positive. Around about 500 to 1,000 people dying a day. And that's been happening all the time since March. These numbers just add up and add up and add up. And they are real people dying of a preventable thing. In my state, without even a complete elimination strategy, we have had nil community transmission for 11 days now. Nil. We basically live fairly confident, normal lives and get on and do our thing. So Trump, we don't know when he got it. We don't know the timeline, but he comes out of hospital probably inappropriately, puts on this whole authoritarian bullshit presentation, and then actively encourages people to not be afraid of the virus, to continue to ignore the science, giving signals that will ultimately, and he must know this, ultimately will end up in the deaths of more and more people, even people around him. A cluster in his own freaking White House. I mean, you know, when the guy was sick, you kind of thought, wow, I hope he survives, if not just to be criminally prosecuted at some point for all the bullshit tax and corruption that he's no doubt has been involved in. I don't want to appear to be polarized or some sort of liberal hack. I want to be on the side of science and humanity. This guy doesn't get that. As somebody said, there's a cognitive dissonance. He understands one thing, he says another. But when he says another as the president and he's misleading people, it's resulting in tens and hundreds of thousands of people dying in his own country. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And, you know, I get that there's this conservative group in America that believes in this. Everyone can just go on their own, do their own thing. And it's going to take a hell of a lot of educating and a hell of a lot of convincing to change those people's minds about that sort of approach to life. But can't you at least see that the leader here is deliberately forcing people to their deaths when they don't have to die? They just don't. If you only looked at the figures in countries where they've been able to control it, look at China, for God's sake. You know, they've got it. They're vacationing. Their economy's going fine, as is our economy here in Australia. Not doing too badly at all, because we've had sensible leadership. And we can breathe easily here that we're not going to be shaking hands or getting into trouble by what we're doing sensibly. We're continuing to social distance, wash our hands, wear masks when appropriate, even though there's no community transmission. Anyway, I'm angry at that guy. Now that he's out, he's back in his White House. I hope he's not there long. I really do.